Hi guys, am I recording? Yes. Alright, so I have been tagged in the Tag Your It video by Tuesday Hubbard and Robin's Nursing Journey, and I love these things. I think they're really fun, and it's a fun way to get to know one another here on YouTube, and I don't get to watch nearly enough videos, so I'm looking forward to getting a chance to look through everybody's responses to these tags. So far, I've only listened to Robin's or watched Robin's video, so I'll look forward to seeing everybody else's because she tagged lots of people, and I'm sure Tuesday did as well. So the first question is, when did you begin to scrapbook? And that's a difficult question for me to answer because I don't entirely know. I know that I started scrapbooking in a consistent way in 2009, and so my scrapbook albums start in 2009. That's when, and at that point I was wrapping up my baby albums, like the baby books. They weren't really scrapbooking albums, but I did a lot of stamping and using stickers and that sort of thing, and I think that kind of got me into it. And then I discovered scrapbook.com, and there were lots of people over there who were really generous with their time and answered a lot of newbie questions, and so I found that a really comfortable environment to, you know, learn a lot more about techniques. And then I discovered YouTube and started watching lots of techniques, and early on I tried everything, like everything that was hot at the moment. I was into making my own embellishments and flowers and punched shapes and all of those sorts of things. But when I think about what really got me interested in scrapbooking, it was actually before that. In 2007, my sister got married, and my husband and I used to make these video montage, like photo montage videos that were kind of like, you know, Ken Burns effect between photos, and it would have music, and we would do these for different events like his aunt's 65th birthday or 60th, I can't remember which one, and so we made one of these montages for my sister's wedding, and because the montage itself, which was presented during the wedding ceremony, not the wedding the wedding reception, it was sort of part of our gift to her, so I wanted to present it nicely in a DVD case that was sort of decorated. So I went into the local photography shop, which was called Kraftin Kate. At the time we didn't have a Henry's yet. And so I went in there because I knew that they had some, you know, fancy frames and stuff like that, and I thought they might have a DVD case for you to present, you know, nice photos on. So this was 2007, and Kraftin Kate was half a photography store and half a scrapbooking store. And so I walked into, and I found this really nice kind of classy black elegant looking case that opened up, and it had a place for you to put your DVD and a little place for an insert. But it was kind of like a pewter type of thing, and then it also came in a really lovely black box. And I wanted to decorate the box, and there's a scrapbooking place right next door. And so, not right next door, but right in the store. So I headed over to the scrapbooking area, and it was huge. I remember thinking, what's with all these stickers? Like, there were millions and millions and millions of stickers, and just like rows and rows and rows of stickers and prima flowers in those little bottles, in those milk jars, those milk bottles, just kind of rows and rows of them. And I was really intrigued by all of these paper products, and at first I couldn't understand how there could be a market. I mean, they've closed, so I guess there wasn't a market, but I couldn't understand how there could be a market for so much paper in one place. Like, who's buying this stuff? I was wondering. And then I decided it should be me. So I bought some ribbon and some prima flowers and some little tiny, really pretty, it turns out they were really overpriced. They were real Swarovski crystal like gems, like kind of the bling that we have, but it didn't have it was more for jewelry, but it was very fancy. So I didn't know what I was doing, so I bought them anyways, and I put them in the center of all of these little prima flowers, and I just kind of had like 3 shades of gray ribbon that went kind of in strips around the front of the CD case. It's actually the box that held the CD case, and then I put like 3 prima paper flowers. I had to buy like 3 jars of flowers in order to get 3 separate flowers because they didn't have the ones I wanted in one complete jars, so I had to buy 3 different, and you know how much those were. And then I got the overpriced Swarovski crystal centers, and so I had this lovely, lovely gift, and I was really, really pleased with myself. And as I was putting it together, I thought, this is really, really fun. And I remember up until then, I had gone through lots of phases of wanting to do hobbies, like taking up painting and then dropping painting, and then I took up cross-stitching and I dropped cross-stitching, and I took up Ukrainian egg painting and all kinds of, like, if it was a hobby, I had tried it. And I would buy all of this stuff and get started, and then it would never really go anywhere, and I kind of felt like I was wanting a hobby but couldn't really find one that I could commit to. And as I was doing this, I thought, now this is something that I think I can do. It's like you're just gluing pretty things to other pretty things. Like, how hard can that be? so it was kind of, I think that's when the seed was planted for me to start scrapbooking. And my mother-in-law had actually given me a scrapbooking kit from K & Company for my wedding. Actually, it was for my wedding shower, as my wedding shower gift. She had given me this beautiful K & Company scrapbooking kit, which I had planned to do and thought, oh, that's fun, I'll take up scrapbooking. But I hadn't actually tried it yet. So I think that having that kit and then having that kind of opportunity to go scrappy shopping in a store that was just packed with lots and lots of fun goodies, and then a chance to kind of dabble in it a little bit and do a little something, really kind of got me going. At that point, my kids were too little to start. Like, my youngest was still breastfeeding, and it was like I was tied down. I couldn't do anything. Like, one was potty training and the other one was breastfeeding, so I had my hands full. But as soon as I went back to work and the kids were in daycare, that's when I started, and that would have been about 2 years later. And so that was 2009. And the rest is history, because here I am. And it's like the first hobby I've ever had that I haven't given up. So I'm really pleased that it has definitely, lasted a while. So I have no plans of giving it up anytime soon, as you can see. Kind of vested in this one. So, where do you scrapbook? Right here. So this is my scrapbooking room, and there are several videos about it on my YouTube channel. I actually just changed around my scrapbooking room again. I know I have a recent video about my scrap room, and I thought I was done and kind of read it. Usually I'll kind of change it about once a year. I'll just kind of move things around a little bit, and then I'll do an updated video. But yeah, this time I just wasn't quite happy with the changes, so I made more changes. So things are a little bit different than they are in my video. One thing that is probably the biggest change, but I made some other small changes, is you'll see that my Stampin' Up! Inks are right there. They're all kind of stacked up. I went ahead and bought the Color Caddy from Stampin' Up! Just because they were in this little cubby hole thingy that I now have markers in. Those aren't Copic markers, those are my other markers. And every time I pulled one out, they would all kind of come tumbling down, because they're not really meant to be stacked on top of one another like some ink pads are. They're meant to be in the Color Caddy, which has like a little shelf for each ink pad. And so, yeah, I was just getting annoyed with that and decided that I would buy the Color Caddy. So I have all my inks that are going to go in my Color Caddy are all kind of stacked up there waiting for it. It's going to arrive on Monday, and this is Thursday, so I have to wait a bit longer. But in the meantime, I was too excited, so I took them out and put my markers in there. So I have my Stampin' Up! Markers, my Distress markers, I don't have many, and my Stettler markers, and everything is all there. And then in the place that I used to keep my markers, which was right there in this owl jar that my mom gave me, that's just where I keep all of my most used markers, like these guys. These Micron pens that you guys see me using. And then I moved a bunch of other stuff around. I moved where I keep my stamps. So this room is an unfinished, it's a finished room in our unfinished basement, and so it's actually partially finished. So there's no baseboards, and the ceiling is drywalled partially. There's a if I can tilt this up and you can see where the bulkhead is going to go up there. It's not finished there. It doesn't even have drywall on it, and there's no baseboards, and the floor is only partially finished. I don't know where that was. Anyways, you'll see that the floor is not completely finished. These are tiles that you buy that are, it's basically a pre-made subfloor, so you don't have to build a subfloor, and they're a little on the pricey side, so we didn't have enough to finish this room, and it's just not a priority. Like when we made the room, we thought, oh yeah, in the fall we'll get more tiles, and then it's just not a priority because it's just the floor and you just walk on it. But I think, you know, this fall we'll do it. Once the summer comes, it's not such a big deal because the floor isn't so cold, but in the winter, it's nice to have the whole room tiled because it does insulate the room and keep it a little bit warmer. And it's warmer on your feet too. So yeah, this is my room. It's in the basement. It's a fairly big room. I have a 17-foot table on an 18-foot wall. So yeah, it's a pretty big room. And I have lots of the Jetmax and Recollections cubes all over the place. And I do share the space with my kids. So this table that you guys see right here, this edge of it, that table, this table right here, is my kids' craft table, and then the Jetmax on the other side of the room, it all belongs to them. Or, well, it kind of belongs to me, but it's got their stuff in it. And I also do sewing in here, and I have jewelry making stuff in here, which I really only use occasionally. And I have my doll collection in here too, which I don't think you guys can see from here. So that's my room. Where do you scrapbook? This third question is, what time of day do you scrapbook? Morning, afternoon, evening, and why? I typically scrapbook on a couple of different times. So I'm a very early morning person, and the rest of my family isn't, so I tend to get up early. If it's a weekend, like a Saturday or a Sunday, I will scrapbook from about 5:30 a.m. until about 7 or 8 a.m. p.m. That would be a long scrapping day. And that's just because it's the time when the house is the quietest, and I don't feel guilty about leaving my husband upstairs with the kids because he's a stay-at-home dad, so he has them a lot through the week, and I would rather be around on the weekend so I can spend time with them and give him a bit of a break. So I try to do my weekend scrapbooking then, which doesn't amount to very much, but I can usually get a layout in, and then like if I scrapbook on Saturday morning, I'll get a layout done, and sometimes I'll get the photography done for it, and then the second day I'll narrate and edit the video and get it posted. So that's why you'll probably often see videos coming live on Sundays a lot for me. And then the other time that I scrapbook would be on either Monday or Thursday because I have those 2 days off. So the way that I work my week professionally is that I work 2 really long days on Tuesday and Wednesday, so I do almost nothing on those days except sleep and eat and work. And then on Monday and Thursday I'm off, and then on Friday I work a regular day and I'm off on the weekends. So that gives me good chunks of time through the week to spend either scrapbooking or doing housework or I don't do much housework to be honest, but I could in theory do housework and just kind of have some downtime. And I often end up having to do like paperwork for my job and that sort of thing during that time. So that's when I scrapbook and why. And my favorite go-to product and tool. I'm going to need to think about this. I wasn't prepared. Okay, so I just grabbed a bunch of my favorite products and tools to have to show you guys for number 4, which is your favorite go-to product and tools. So I'm not a very technique-y scrapbooker. I do dabble. I try techniques, but I'm not the kind of scrapbooker who has elaborate or fancy techniques on every one of my layouts. Most of my layouts are just glued pieces of paper together with some embellishments. But so because of that, my biggest go-to tool is my ATG, and I call it an ATG gun because I like redundancy. Technically it's an advanced tape glider and a spice scotch. And I really love this tool because it means that I don't have to refill my tape quite as often, although I do need to refill it. No, I just refilled it recently. Before I got this sucker, I was using Tombow Mono adhesive. Let me show you what that looked like. So that looks like this. Is this Tombow? Yeah, it is. So it looks like this. I don't know if you can necessarily see the Tombow right there. It's called the Craft Collection Tombow Permanent Adhesive, and I really like this because, oh, this is the dot one. Some of them are in dots and some of them are like a strip of, but it's clear so you can't see it. And I really like this one, but I go through them so quickly, and I was having to buy the 3 packs of the little, I mean, these are great because they just come apart like this, and then you throw this part away and just snap on a new one like this. I think Robin might have picked this because I've seen somebody do that recently. Anyways, that was the glue that I was using, and now this is my favorite glue because it's so much more in a roll that I don't have to refill it, and you can get the refills for quite cheap if you look around and shop around places. And they make an off-brand refill for it as well, which I have used, but now I'm using the Scotch brand just because that's what the lady who I shop with gets. So, awesome tool. And I know it looks cumbersome, and I was reluctant to get it for a long time because it looks so big and bulky and like it wouldn't be handy to use. But once you get used to it, it's actually really easy. So like that. And then I have to say my tiny attacher, because tiny attacher staples show up on almost every one of my layouts. So this is one of my favorite tools. And I like that you can open it up like this and staple anywhere on the page just by putting a little piece of foam under your page and snap and stapling down like that. So, but the only thing that I don't like about this is that it needs to be refilled a lot. So I need to put several little refill things in at the same time, which I haven't been doing, so that's why it needs to be refilled a lot. This is probably my favorite punch. This is the double embossed dotted lace punch by EK Success, and it looks like it has little circles on it, but the circles are supposed to be embossed, but they don't come out unless if you punch really, really hard, and then they only partially come out. So it's actually just a large scallop border, and I really like it. It's a great scale for 12 by 12 layouts. And then my assortment of markers, because I do a lot of outlining on my layouts, not every single layout, but probably 80% of my layouts have outlining on it. This is probably my very favorite marker. It's the Zig, what's it called? The Zig Rider. And I really like it because it has a 0.05 end and a 1.2 end, and that allows you to do you know, fine outlining and bold outlining, and it's kind of my go-to pen, but it's worn out right now, so I can still use the bold end, but the fine end doesn't mark very well anymore. So in addition to that, would never be the only pen I have because I'm a pen freak and that wouldn't be enough. In addition to that, I like to have a set of multi-tipped pens. So these are the micron pens that I showed you just a minute ago, and they come in 0.1, 0.5, and 0.3. They might come in more, but I get them in these. And you can see, you know, it's not really showing up there. So you can see the numbers on the tips, which is important, right? I wouldn't buy these if they didn't have the tips on the end, because I do store them like this, and I need to be able to see which one I'm grabbing. So the American Crafts pens like this don't have the pen tips on the top, and that sucks. But what I did was I put a piece of washi around the top in 3 different washi patterns, and then I just knew that the cloud one was 0.03 or whatever. Then another set of pens that I have are these Stettler pigment liners. They're kind of like Hit pens, and they come in 4 sizes: 0.3, 0.1, 0.3, 0.5, and 0.7. And they have this kind of a tip. I can't do both. Move the light and hold it up for you guys to see. There. So it comes in that kind of a tip. It's like a little felt tip. And these come in the same kind of a tip. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, that's not really showing up. Anyways, this is not the right video. This is not the right camera to use for such detailed stuff. And then probably my last go-to product would be mist. I'm still using the Studio Calico opaque white mist because between the Heidi Swapp one and this one, I do like this one better because it's more opaque. Even when I shake, I know people were saying you need to shake it more, and I tried that, and it's still, the Heidi Swapp one doesn't come out as opaque as this. The cost of the opaqueness is that it doesn't dry very well on cardstock. It dries fairly well on pattern paper, but it does leave a bit of a residue that if you were really rubbing at it, it would rub off on your fingers and make a bit of a mess and not look so nice on your layout anymore. But I don't tend to rub my layouts, so that's okay with me. So that's what that looks like. And then the other go-to color that I use is the silver. I use white and silver a lot. I also use gold, and when I do use gold, I use the Heidi Swap stuff. So those are my go-to products. I'm going to go put them back now, and then I will come and talk some more. So the the fifth question is, what product or tool have you bought that you hated and why? And I just looked around my scrap room and I can't find any products that I hate in here, and maybe that's just because I love everything. But I have made some poor decisions for purchases, but I tend to give that stuff away, so I can't quite remember I'm sure there's something that I hated and I can't remember. But the thing that comes to mind the most is the Making Memories trimmer, paper trimmer. I bought it at Winners, which is kind of like Marshall's, I think. I think it's like Marshall's in the States. So Winners is like a discount store that has a whole bunch of stuff. And so I bought this Making Memories trimmer because I had this trimmer, which I love and hate, because it's I love it because I've just had it for so long that I know exactly where it's going to cut. So when I'm cutting cut aparts, I know exactly where to put it so that it's going to cut right on the edge, and I never, like, it's awesome because I never make a mistake. I mean, sometimes I make a mistake just because I'm not being careful about it, but I never make a mistake that's trimmer related with this trimmer because I'm just so familiar with it. But it doesn't cut entirely straight, which doesn't really matter to me except for when I'm making cards. So I have been on the lookout for, and this one, the thing that I hate the most about it is that it's not 12 inches. It only goes to 8, and then I drew on the 8.5 line right here. But so I don't like that about it. So I've been looking for another trimmer, and then as you guys know, I did find the Caterpillar, which I do love because it's more than 12 inches and it has a really, really straight line. And as long as you take the time to align it properly and hold the paper down, it trims incredibly. Hang on a second, I have to reply to somebody. Oh yeah, so I do really like the Caterpillar, but before I got the Caterpillar, I tried this Making Memories trimmer, and it was awful. I can't even remember what I didn't like about it, but it was awful in many ways. It was so bad that I got it home and tried it out and immediately packaged it back up and got in my car and drove back to Winners, which is like a half-hour drive away. That's how unhappy I was with it. So that was something, and I don't know which model I bought, and Making Memories I don't think even exists anymore, so I don't think you have any danger of buying it by accident or anything like that. But it wasn't, I can't remember what I didn't like about it, but it really stands out as being awful. Then the Hero Arts shadow inks I bought because I saw lots of great reviews about them on YouTube, and I know that lots of people have them and love them. But compared to the crispness of the images that I'm used to getting from my Stampin' Up! Inks, they're just not as good. And the reason, at least they're not in my room on my paper or the way that I'm using them anyways. So what I found was that I was having trouble. The whole reason that I even wanted new ink, because obviously I'm in love with my Stampin' Up! Ink, but I was having that problem with storing them where when I put them on that little thing there and I pulled one out, they would all fall out. So I had this time where I kind of flirted with the idea of, instead of using Stampin' Up! Inks, maybe using another company where the ink pads would kind of stack nicely on top of one another, like the Distress inks and the Hero Arts inks do that. So, and there was lots of great reviews, so I bought a handful of colors just to check them out, and I really should have only bought one, although I probably wouldn't have trusted one, but I had to use a lot to kind of get the sense of, okay, it's just the brand. Anyways, I did give them away to a new scrapbooker in my neighborhood because they just weren't as crisp as I wanted them to be. They're fine, like they're okay. I think if you had never used Stampin' Up! Ink, or I hear that there are other inks out there too that are really crisp, like Stampin' Up! And so if you weren't used to those inks, then you might think that they're great, but anyways, I just couldn't deal with the difference. So I got rid of them. Speaking of inks that I don't like, another love-hate relationship with this stuff here, which is the alternative alternative to this stuff here, which I love. The black stays on and it smells really awesome. It smells like almond extract, which I absolutely love. And so, and it stamps really well and crisp. And this is this kind of ink that you use for, it's a solvent ink, and so it's good on multiple surfaces, especially shiny surfaces, so that's what I use Stays On for. But I get tired of just using black all the time. So way back in the day when I first started scrapbooking, back in 2009, I bought some red, some green, and some gray Stays On ink, and I really didn't use them very often to notice, but lately I've been pulling them out to use them, and the green and the red are completely dried up and I can't use them anymore. And the gray is awful. I threw it away because it was so bad. It just, woo! Oh my, there's an ant here. A red ant. He would have bit me. Okay. Seriously, there's ants in here now. Okay. Anyways, I had a beetle infestation earlier in the spring. There were beetles everywhere in my craft room, all the same beetles. So it was like, yeah, anyways, they're gone now. We found where they were coming up from. We have a rough-in bathroom in my in what's now the closet. It's roughed in to be a bathroom when we first built the house, but we never did make it into a bathroom. But the place where the pipes come out of the ground, it wasn't sealed. Like there was earth there, and it never caused any. I mean, we've been living in the house for 6 years, and we've never had bugs coming out of the earth into our house before. But this year they were, and we covered it up and the bugs went away. So obviously they don't live in our house. They were coming up from the ground, so they're not here anymore. But anyways, I'm a little freaked out when I see bugs in my craft room now, because I'm like, oh no. Because it took a long time to solve that, and I did not feel 100% comfortable down here with a whole bunch of beetles. Like 1 or 2 beetles is not a problem, but lots and lots of beetles all over the place kind of creeps me out, even though beetles don't hurt you. And I'm actually a Beatles fan. Anyways, I know, I'm such a dork. What was I talking about? Right. I don't hate this product, but boy, does it ever stink. Like, it smells so horrible. It smells quite nice. And so I did get this, and I was happy enough with it that I did buy it in red, and I bought it in gray to replace that horrible gray ink. Gray Stays On that I had to throw away. I use red a lot for that kind of office-y look. Sometimes roller date stamps look really nice in red, and gray is just a nice alternative to black for a softer, less harsh look. And so I like to have, these are kind of what I would consider, these ones and black are what I would consider staple ink colors, and then this one was more just for fun. I haven't tried the gray yet. I assume it stamps the same way that the blue one does, which I was quite happy with. So those are products that I'm not too keen on, and that trimmer was something I hated. Okay, where am I at? What's your style of scrapbooking? Oh, I don't know. I don't really have a style, I don't think. I don't know. I guess my style is with lots of outlining and sometimes lots of layers and sometimes not. Sometimes simple, sometimes cluttered. So I guess I don't really have one. I guess eclectic would be the best way to describe it. I try to, although there's a lot of repetition and you'll see lots of kind of me doing the same thing a lot, I'll do the same thing for a while and then I'll kind of shake it up and try to do something different and get some different looks going in my scrapbook. I don't really know what my style is. It's not technique-y, that's for sure. I don't do a whole lot of mixed media in my scrapbooks. I dabble in mixed media, but I tend to do it in either an art journal or on canvases. And my art journal is really personal, so I don't share it online. So, how do you get ideas for layouts and what inspires you? So sometimes I'm inspired by either sketches or by other people's work, like other people's layouts. I don't get a chance to watch YouTube videos very often, but when I do, I find the work that I see online really, really inspiring, and certainly the work that I see in the Facebook group, like I'm in the Scraptastic Facebook group, and I'm also a member of Nicole Jones 911, and I'm not really active in that one, but I do check out all of the layouts, and there's certainly a lot of really talented ladies posting their work in those two places. And so, you know, sometimes I'll pick up an inspiration from those places. I'm never inspired by ads or mood boards or Pinterest. I have a hard time finding inspiration in Pinterest, and it's part of my job just to, with the Scraptastic club, is that when you have to do a blog post on Mondays, Monday is Pinterest day, so we're supposed to get our inspiration from Pinterest on that day, and I always find that one challenging, just because I have a hard time looking at an ad or a picture and saying I can make that into a scrapbook page, unless if it's colors. So I can get color inspiration from ads and magazine layouts and Pinterest and that sort of thing, but I can't look at like pictures of a quilt and a book and a skirt and put those things together to make a layout. It just, I don't know, that doesn't, I don't know, I just don't think that way. So probably 90% of my scrapbooking inspiration just comes from the products themselves. So I just kind of move stuff around on my canvas. Like I'll kind of sit in, well, you see me do it over there in my workspace. I'll sit at my mat and I'll just kind of put things together and take things apart and move things around until they start to look good. And then I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. And then I just kind of go from there and add, and sometimes I end up taking things away, and that's kind of just how I do it. Is it doesn't really come from anywhere. It comes from the products, I guess. And I think, oh, these two things would look nice side by side, and so I'll put them side by side, and that sort of thing. Other YouTubers to watch, that's number 8. So there are some amazing YouTubers on here. I really wish that I was able to do more watching, but that would involve less making of videos. And I do enjoy making videos. I kind of consider it a second hobby. And so yeah, when I'm on the treadmill, I sometimes get a chance to watch YouTube videos, but I've been watching Downton Abbey lately on the treadmill, so I haven't been getting a chance to catch up with many YouTubers. So I used to watch some, I don't even know if they're still around, but I used to love watching Allison, who was Good Grief You, and I used to love Aren't You Glad, who I'm pretty sure she's not here anymore, and I really miss her. And I watched Scrapology, and I know that she's still around, so hello if you're watching. And everybody loves Vicky, who is MeLoveBono, and she's just so much fun to listen to and to watch. And I really love another person who's just, their conversation I just really enjoy is Jill the Coffee Mummy. I feel like I'm her friend when I watch her videos. I know that sounds a little creepy, but you know, like she just has such a casual, engaging way of talking about what she's doing that makes me feel like I'm just sitting there talking with her, even though she can't hear me. So those are the scrapbookers who I used to watch and still watch when I get a chance, those of them that are still around. But the YouTubers that are catching my eye these days are Kitty Nance, I think that's her YouTube name, Nancy Sinclair, Kitty Nance on YouTube, and Robin's Nursing Journey, and Tuesday, and oh, Irit, of course, Irit. I love her work. Oh, she inspires me. So yeah, that's somebody who inspires me. I love the things she does with mixed media, even though I'm not a big technique-y person. I just love seeing the way that she puts colors and things together. Yeah, so those are the YouTubers that I tend to check out when I do have a chance to go online and check out YouTube. Number 9, do you have a monthly scrapbooking budget? Whew, there's a loaded question. No, I don't. I probably should, and I guess maybe we all should, but I tend to spend in spurts, and I'm in the middle of a spurt, so now it's not a good time for me to answer this question. So I tend to go long periods of time of spending almost nothing on scrapbooking because I am on the Scraptastic design team, so I do get my kits as part of, as you know, what I get for doing the design team work is the kits. So and they are more than enough to get me through a month of scrapbooking, and so I don't really need much more than that besides that and adhesive, and sometimes I'll run out of something like an ink color or something, and so then I'll have to buy that. And then oh my god, that ant came back to life. Oh my god. What was I talking about? Right. So I don't really need to spend much on scrapbooking, but about twice a year, it used to be when CHA happened, but now CHA only happens once a year. But about twice a year, I kind of get the itch to just freshen up my staple, like my stash of supplies, because I do draw from my stash in my layouts. Even when I'm using a kit, for the most part, I'll still, like, you know, grab a wood veneer here or a tag there. And so every once in a while I'll be like, okay, I need new tags, and I'll just go on Etsy and buy a bunch of colored tags or something. Lately I've been trying to make my tags. Or like I just put in an order from Stampin' Up! Where I got some new punches and that ink caddy and that sort of thing. So, or I might buy a paper collection, like I recently bought the the Basic Gray Grand Bazaar paper, and I'll buy, you know, I'll go through phases where I'll buy some stamps for card making and that sort of thing. But yeah, I try to keep my spending under control, obviously, but sometimes I'm good at it and sometimes I'm not. I do go long periods of time of not buying anything for scrapbooking, and that's good. So it kind of it probably evens out to maybe like $70 a month, a year. I almost said that would be nice. Maybe $70 a month. I try to definitely not spend $100 a month, but there might be a month where I might spend $200, but then I wouldn't have spent for a couple months before that. So I would feel good if it was 70, but I don't know if it evens out to that if you kind of averaged it out over the year. Number 10 is, with mixed media, have you taken classes or do you just experiment? I tend to just experiment. I have taken a couple of classes. So I took Christy Tomlinson's mixed media class a long time ago. I don't think she still has that class. And then I took one of the sheet art classes. I think I took number 2 of the sheet art classes. And those were both really good. I liked those. And then a long time ago, when I first started scrapbooking, so probably around 2010, I took a mixed media class with somebody named Susie Blue, and she did these little dolls, and and I love dolls, I'm like a big fan I always have been, and she taught you how to make a face, like how to do eyes and how to do nose, and about like the sizes that they should be in order to make different facial expressions or to make someone look innocent and that sort of thing. I found it really helpful, although I don't do that anymore. I think if I were to, you'd have to keep on doing it to be good at it, and I did a little bit and I was happy with what I was doing, but then I just kind of fell out of it because I'm not much of a mixed media person. But she also did a lot of explaining about how to build a background. So now, do you have a photo printer at home or do you send your photos out? That's a really great question. And I do print them at home, and my printer is right there. I know a lot of people have and like the selfie, but I don't have it. I have the Epson PictureMate Charm, and I really love it. And the reason that I bought it is that Ali Edwards did a little review of it a couple years back, and it seemed great. And when I first got it, I compared photos printed with that from photos printed at the Superstore and at Costco, and the quality of that machine is better than what I was getting from sending out photos. So I'm really happy with it. It only takes 4x6 paper, so it's only for printing like small photos. But I really like it. It's good quality, and you buy the print when you get. What am I trying to say here? When you refill it, you don't buy ink cartridges and paper separate. You buy a whole print pack, and it includes 100 pieces of paper and enough ink to print on 100 pieces of paper. And so that way you're only, like I found when I had a photo printer before, I was constantly trying to keep up on, oh, it feels like I just bought ink and now I have to buy paper, and then I buy paper and then I'm running out of ink, and you're always running out of something. And so I would always be kind of like stressed out about, do I have everything I need to print pictures? Whereas now I always keep a print pack, and when I buy 2, and then when I'm opening the second one, I buy 2 more. So I've always got some print packs. Have you ever sold anything you made, and what did you charge? I have. I used to make little glitzy glitzy blooms. They are these little layered flowers. They're made out of fabric, so it's not really a scrapbooking thing, but I've used them in scrapbooking. They're more of a fashion, accessory that you would pin on your scarf or your coat or something. So I used to make those with a girlfriend of mine, and but I haven't sold any scrapbooking stuff. I might have sold a card or two here and there, and I used to be a Stampin' Up! Demo, so I used to sell supplies in that way and do like little workshops. And I was more of a hobby demo, so I was a demonstrator so that I could get the discount because I really liked the ink, and I was, getting a collection of ink and stamps at that point. That didn't last very long. So what are my thoughts on this? So basically, I think that scrapbooking for me is a labor of love, and I don't think that anyone would be willing to pay me what I think it's worth. So I wouldn't want to make a layout for someone else. I've done like the covers of magazines before, where they send you a photo and you have to scrapbook it, and I found that really, really difficult. It was okay, and I like the outcome, and it's on the cover and it looks great, but I struggled with that, and I didn't find it very much fun, and I don't think that if I were to scrapbook for money that it would be all that much fun anymore. So I don't do that, and I don't have any advice for anybody who does do it. I don't, it's fine if you want to do it, but I think that it's difficult for a non-scrapbooker to appreciate all the time and the cost of the supplies that goes into making a scrapbooking layout or a mini album or something. And so they're going to be reluctant to pay anything that you would charge that would be reasonable for you to even recoup the cost of your supplies, let alone adding your labor. So I think that that's a challenging thing to do, but people do it, and I don't mean to discourage anybody, but that would be tough. And then the other flip side of that is that anybody who does appreciate it and understand it is probably a scrapbooker who can do their own work, right? So yeah, that's my thought on that. Then your favorite techniques. Do I have a favorite technique? Outlining. Outlining is my favorite technique, I think. And I also really like, there's a couple of favorite techniques. What else do I like to do? I like layering. Layering is one of my favorite techniques, and I like embossing, actually. I like dry embossing, but I don't do it very much. It's probably one of my favorite things to do, it's fun, and I like having an embossed thing to put in amongst my layers, but I don't do it as much as I'd like to. Do you have other hobbies besides scrapbooking? Yes, I do. So I have jewelry making supplies down here. I have a sewing center down here. What does this say? Oh yeah, I dabbled in analog photography. Like I have a couple of old toy cameras, like a Diana, and I have a fisheye, and I have an Instax camera, and so I like kind of analog photography, but I don't do it very much. And I also, in the fall and winter, I do doll photography, because I realized that at first I thought doll collecting was my hobby, but then I realized it's not. It's doll photography is what I really love to do. And so I like to set up my dolls and take photos. And I just like the challenge of trying to get the lighting right. And they don't move like kids or animals do. And so it's a nice way. It's relaxing. I find when I try to take photos either out in the world because like the wind is blowing or people are looking or I feel weird about it, or I don't know. I like doll photography because it's right in my own home and I don't have to feel self-conscious about it, and I can take my time and set up things, and I like having like little props, and I don't know what it is. I like that, and it's kind of like the same as I really, really love setting up my Christmas village every year. Like I set it up the day after Halloween, and I really take my time, and I actually start thinking about it in the summer and start planning and buying things for it. And it's like, there's something that I like about little miniature diorama setup type of things. And so I think doll photography gives me a chance to kind of indulge in that. And then, like I said, yeah, so I guess Christmas village making is another hobby that I do kind of probably 4 or 5 months out of the year, because I start kind of planning it in around August, and I don't take it down until probably the end of January. I like to leave it up. I call it a winter village so that I can get away with having it up before Christmas and leaving it up after Christmas. So there's that. Do you have any other hobbies? Favorite technique? Do you have you have a favorite tag? Oh, I already did that one. So 15. What is, okay. What's good for a beginner scrapbooker to buy to start out with scrapbooking? Oh, I wrote that down wrong, but I think the question is, what are some good supplies to start out for a beginner? And I've been planning to do a beginner video because this has been requested a lot, and somebody fairly recently requested it, and I said, yes, I'm going to do that, and then I didn't. So I'm going to make a dedicated video just about beginner, like what you need as a beginner. But the thing that I want to say here is that you really don't need much. You don't need all of this stuff. Like, I do this, I have a lot of stuff because this is my hardcore hobby that I do, and I'm on a design team, and some of the stuff I get I don't even pay for, and so it doesn't need to be this is what I want to say. All that you need is a pair of scissors. A trimmer is nice when you're starting out, so a trimmer, a pair of scissors, and some adhesive, like a tape runner would be good, and then some pattern paper, cardstock, and a couple of embellishments, maybe some letter stickers, and then some other embellishments. That's all that you really need. You know, you might want to branch out and start stamping, so then get an ink pad and a couple of stamps. Don't like get 4,000 stamps to start off with, because you might not like stamping once you do it for a little while. When I first started out, I wanted to try everything. I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, oh, you can make that? I want to make that. And then I'd buy all the supplies to make that, and I'd make 2 or 3 of them, and I'd be like, I've done that now, and I'm ready to learn something else. But I had all of this equipment and all of this stuff that I got just because I was like eating up the hobby and just couldn't get enough of it. And now I hardly use a lot of that stuff. So I think pacing yourself early on is really, really important, and sticking to a budget. And then if after time goes by you still want to do that, then try it out, or try out a friend's, or go to a crop so you can see what other people are doing and borrow their equipment. But yeah, it's really tempting to just buy everything. I bought everything at the beginning, so I know how that is, but I'm still gonna say don't buy everything because you might regret it. And I did end up selling a lot of things. So that's the last question. Thanks so much for watching this video. I know it's really long, but I found it really fun to answer these questions. So who am I tagging? I don't know who's been tagged already, but I would like to hear from Jill the Coffee Mommy, and I would like to hear from Irit if she hasn't already been tagged, and Vicky. I'd like to hear from Vicky if she hasn't been tagged. And I know a lot of people know everybody else, and so a lot of other people are probably going to end up being tagged, and so I will try to keep an eye out and watch everybody's videos so that I can get to know you all better. So take care, everybody, and have a really great scrappy week.